Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. Ali Eren Demirezen has dashed any hopes that Adam Kownacki had of becoming a potential title challenger, defeating the Polish-American heavyweight at the Barclays Center on the Benavidez-Garcia undercard. So that was the co-feature, and 97, 93, 96, 94 on two cards. And this was a fight that had a lot of action. The styles meshed well. Ahead of the fight, I said, this will be a case where you have Adam Kownacki and Ali Eren Demirezen throwing a lot of punches. It's aesthetically going to look good, but how much gas does Adam Kownacki have in the tank? And not enough, because after a really strong 2 rounds, he started to decrease his volume, and ultimately he was pretty gassed in the last 5 rounds of the fight. So we'll just discuss the action briefly and then on to a few thoughts, because Adam Kownacki, he is done as a potential title challenger. 3rd loss in a row. Where does he go from here? And this kind of panned out exactly how I thought it might. So you had those first couple of rounds where Adam Kownacki was going absolutely nuts with the amount of punches that he threw. But he probably went a little bit overboard. He tried to do what he did against Gerald Washington a few years ago and basically bum rush Ali Eren Demirezen, overwhelm him with volume and try to get him out of there. But Ali Eren Demirezen is a durable guy. I'm not so sure that Kownacki had done his homework, or he just got overexcited because he was never going to be able to just volume his way to a stoppage within a couple of rounds. And as soon as the volume slackened, because he threw well over 100 punches in the first couple of rounds, I think it was 100 and they were saying 140 or 160 punches. It was something ridiculous in the first round. But he just completely sort of fell off down to about 60 punches, and Ali Eren Demirezen said, "Thank you very much." And he's a guy who, if you watch the FA Jugba fight, and there are other examples, he likes to come forward and basically sit on your chest and get his work away. And we saw him in this fight working the 1-2 very effectively. In rounds 3 to about 6, there was the right uppercut followed by the left hook, and his jab got working a bit better later on in the fight. But what he was doing was pretty simple. He was just outworking Adam Kownacki, beating Kownacki at his own game. And for about 3 or 4 rounds on the trot, he just was picking up rounds. Through 5, I had it 3-2 to Ali Eren Demirezen, and Kownacki was not looking good. But as soon as Demirezen started to take a breather, because he'd been working quite hard, round 7, round 8, you had Adam Kownacki coming back into the fight. Round 7 was a question mark on my scorecard as who it went to. I thought that Adam Kownacki, you could give it to him, so that was a swing round. I gave it to him. Kownacki, I thought he definitely won the 8th round, but this seemed to be Ali Eren Demirezen with the next round, round 9, and then finishing in round 10. In round 8, just taking a breather, trying to get his wind back to finish the final couple rounds strong, which he did. Really strong at round 9, and round 10 there was good back and forth action. There was a spot where you had Adam Kownacki really letting his hands go and having success, but either side of that you had Ali Eren Demirezen landing more. One really big right hand towards the end of the round that you sort of thought, well, if he can follow that up and with a couple of big more shots, he might be able to put Kownacki down or out. Wasn't able to. It went all 10 rounds, and as Ali Eren Demirezen wasn't the house fighter, I wasn't sure he was going to get the decision. When I heard 97-93, I thought, surely that's got to be for him, because I can't find 5 rounds or 6 rounds, let alone 7, for Adam Kownacki. I was generous giving him that swing round in round 7, but my card with the swing round 96-94, 2 of the judges agreed there, and one with 97-93, and the right man got the decision. So Ali Eren Demirezen gets the win, but this doesn't mean he's a contender. This doesn't mean that we can go overboard and say this guy's a guy on the rise. He beat a faded Gerald Washington at the very start of the year. Now he's beaten a clearly shop-worn Adam Kownacki, who is looking like a diminished and damaged fighter after those couple of losses on the bouts to Robert Helenius. The version of Adam Kownacki in 2018, 2019 would have beaten Ali Eren Demirezen, would have been able to be more effective, land more shots, and would have outworked this version of Demirezen. But he wasn't able to. And clearly he's a guy that's taken a lot of shots, diminishing returns, and I've said I thought that Kownacki was shot worn. And I said for his career to continue in the right direction or to rebound, he needed to have a good performance and really look good in there. And he was labouring something chronic at times. Talked about the improvements that they were making with his head movement and footwork. You saw that for a round or two when he had some energy. After that, really diminished back to eating a lot of punches with his face, squaring up a lot at times as well, just being target practice for Demirezen, who was able to land more accurate, more frequent in most of the rounds, and this is why he won the fight. And this is the sort of fight that it was always going to be, because they're a little bit of a mirror of each other. They carefully chose Demirezen as a guy who's a non-puncher. Basically, it was a heat check, crossroads fight, as I said, ahead of the fight, and Kownacki does not cross the road. He's been taken out here by a guy who is still, in my view, a gatekeeper. If you're not good enough, the gate is closed. Demirezen has just earned himself some more paydays. It's a similar sort of situation to like a Derek Chisora. You have a guy like Demirezen who's will come in, he'll give you a good fight, there'll be good value, he'll throw a lot of punches, he's durable, but if you're good enough, you will beat him. F.A. Ajagba, who is at this point not highly regarded by a lot of guys, he was able to match the intensity and outwork Demirezen a couple of years ago. So arguably that win has aged well. Perhaps it even makes Frank Sanchez's win over Ajagba look even better. But in terms of where he's going next, well, he's taken down a couple of PBC guys in a row here. Is he going to be the next opponent for another PBC heavyweight? They may have some options on him. Could this be an opponent for Charles Martin? Could it be an opponent for someone else in that stable? He's taken down Kownacki and Washington on the bounce. Maybe he will be there for someone else. Maybe Arreola and Demirezen, that would also work in terms of the aesthetic. It would be very similar to this fight. In terms of Kownacki, after the fight, he obviously was disappointed and he cited ring rust. But make of that what you will. Maybe the whole sort of blocking punches with his face or not being able to get it out of the way of them and not landing enough, his gas tank or lack thereof, I mean, those are also good reasons that he lost here. He ultimately was outworked by a guy who just hustled a bit harder in most of the rounds. He was asked outright by Jim Gray, do you want to retire? And he did initially say that he needed to go away and talk to his wife and discuss these things, then going on to say, look, I don't really want to go out like this. I don't want to go out like this for my fans. I want at least one more win. So that is sounding like a fighter who's basically pretty much at the end of the road. So if he wants them, the sort of fights like this are going to be there. He is basically devolved to gatekeeper level status at this point. He may be fed to an up-and-coming prospect, who knows. Maybe they will look to remake a rematch between him and Chris Arreola, him and Charles Martin. They could end up looking to do something like that. We will have to see. But his aspirations as a title challenger, a title contender, gone. Remembering he turned down, or his team or whoever was involved with his camp turned down a potential 7-figure payday with Derek Chisora. And because PBC doesn't send fighters elsewhere typically, that was never going to be accepted, but it was there and it was refused. Remembering he turned down potential millions for an Anthony Joshua tilt back in 2019, went on to face Chris Arreola and got hardly anything of the sort of payday it could have been. So it is a case, there's lost opportunities. He could have had a title shot potentially. Things could have gone very much different, but Robert Helenius definitely took something from him. Adam Kownacki certainly done as a heavyweight contender. He has been relegated to being a gatekeeper or fodder for an up-and-coming guy. He can be in entertaining fights. He can be in these similar type ones, but if he's not getting you out of there in a couple of rounds and you've got some gas in the tank and volume, you're going to beat him. At this point, it's hard to see where Kownacki goes, but he is certainly done at the top level in my view. How about you? Drop a comment, loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.